The Bible warns us in Isaiah 5:20, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness before light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. The conclusion of this trial could determine the path of women's rights and whether or not they deserve to keep them. What if I told you that thousands of women are celebrating a mother who strangled her 3 children to death? Welcome to the Lindsay Clancy case, where feminism is proven to be what it always was, and what it truthfully and factually always wanted to accomplish, and its inevitable and intended consequences. On January 24th, 2023, Lindsay Clancy sent her husband Patrick to pick up dinner and medication, then executed her plan, which was initiated by her husband's absence, and then proceeded to use exercise bands to strangle Cora, age 5, Dawson, age 3, and 8-month-old Callan in their basement. After killing them, she slit her wrists and jumped from their house's 2nd-story window. Her medical records show she was prescribed 13 different medications by 5 providers. She had apparently been shopping around to find doctors that would just give her prescriptions, and according to some sources, was doing so with the intention of being able to artificially create the appearance of someone for whom the insanity defense would apply, giving her the status of a mother who was a victim of being a mother to children that loved her, rather than what she actually is, a murderer who executed 3 innocent children in cold blood.
What do those wounds tell you?
When I see a ligature furrow that is horizontally oriented in association with significant petechial hemorrhages, those findings are consistent with a ligature strangulation.
And what is ligature strangulation?
Again, a ligature is an object used to apply external force to the neck, and a strangulation is when it is done by someone else.
And when that happens, what is building in those veins and are rupturing, is that painful?
Just like our blood vessels run throughout all of our body, there are nerves throughout all of our body as well. And so there is a component of pain present until loss of consciousness occurs.
And how long can it take?
Loss of consciousness can occur as early as 10 to 30 seconds, with brain damage beginning at the 1-minute mark, and irreversible brain damage and subsequent death occurring around as early as 5 minutes, again with the caveat that there are variables that might accelerate or decelerate that time.
Medical certainty as the cause of death of Cora?
Yes.
And what was that?
Asphyxia.
And was that by manual strangulation?
By strangulation.
Mechanical strangulation, I mean. Yes.
Any movement against the carotid arteries. The carotid arteries are thicker and more muscular than the veins, so they're more likely to push through with the blood. So that could be movement of the ligature, or movement of the person handling the ligature, or movement of Dawson himself.
So it could be from Dawson struggling, or it could be from more pressure or force of the ligature?
Yes, changes in the pressure of the ligature.
And if I could see photo 2143, please. Determine a cause of death.
Yes.
And did you determine that to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
And what was that?
Asphyxia.
Your Honor, I'd move to submit.
But here's where it gets genuinely crazy, insane, and demonic. Thousands of women, seemingly millions, are making this child killer into a feminist hero. And what they are saying online should terrify every sane person in America. TikTok has exploded with videos declaring, "You'll never make me hate Lindsay Clancy." And "I want to become a lawyer to defend women like Lindsay Clancy." These aren't isolated posts. We're talking about a coordinated movement involving millions who profess that they want to murder their innocent children, just like Lindsay Clancy did. Women are posting videos with captions like, "Team Lindsay," and "She was clearly suffering and deserves compassion." One viral video shows a woman saying, "If you're not standing with Lindsay Clancy, you're part of the problem." Another popular post declares, "Lindsay Clancy is the victim here, not those kids." Hundreds and thousands and millions of female supporters have given her everything online, and thousands of supporters apparently crashed her trial, some even carrying babies while wearing pink, with signs reading, "We stand in silence, united hand in hand," wearing pink to show Lindsay Clancy the peaceful support she deserves. Think about that for a second. Women bringing innocent children to support a woman who murdered her own innocent children. It speaks for itself. The hashtag #FreeLindsay has garnered millions of views. Comments like, "She's a hero for speaking her truth," and "This is what happens when we don't support mothers," flood these videos. One particularly disturbing post states, "Those kids are in a better place anyway." Another says, "Maybe they were going to grow up as problematic." If you are a man in the entirety of the West, you know exactly what that means. And it's never good. News reports show women outside the courthouse wearing Team Lindsay shirts and Mental Health Matters pins. Some have made Lindsay's 75-year-old attorney, Kevin Reddington, into an unlikely feminist hero, creating memes and gifs of him, comforting her, holding her hand, putting his arms around her as she sobs and does her performative emotions in court. They're treating this like a romance movie, not a murder trial. This is the definition of calling evil good. A woman who planned and executed the strangulation of her 3 young children, sending her husband away first so she wouldn't be interrupted, is being treated like a victim, a hero, someone worthy of defense and admiration. This writes itself at this point. This isn't just misguided sympathy. I would call it something closer to suicidally homicidal empathy. And remove the empathy part entirely, because that is just a complete and total lie. This is a culture that has lost its moral compass entirely. When women gather to celebrate a child killer, something has gone terribly wrong in our society. And let me show you how twisted this has become. Oh, and let's not forget, there's a GoFundMe, much like now is the norm with these cases nowadays, which that's neither a good or bad thing by itself because, well, people need help, myself included. It's nothing against GoFundMe. It's nothing against nobody like that. However, let's follow the mess. Now let's follow the money, because sympathy is cheap. Donations aren't. On August 11th, 2026. 3 weeks into Lindsay Clancy's murder trial, a woman in Wisconsin who had started posting TikTok reactions to the trial 5 days earlier opened a GoFundMe, not for the children, not for the husband, for Lindsay's parents, Mike and Paula Musgrove, to cover their travel, lodging, and living costs while they sit behind their daughter in court. GoFundMe doesn't allow fundraising for legal. The first goal was $500,000. She raised it to $2 million. That says a lot. She raised over $1 million in 10 days. $1 million in 10 days. That's exactly what you think it is. And it's, as of the day I recorded this, 10 days in, that fund stood at $1,015,000 from more than 30,000 separate donations. Money from Australia. Look up Collective Shout. You'll have an idea about Australia after that. Also look at all the reports of what feminism has done to that country, because it's real bad. From the UK, from Belize, that is roughly $100,000 a day for the parents of a woman who, by her own lawyer's account, killed her 3 children. That's essentially akin to a payment for their murder. For the record, back in February 2023, the public also raised $1 million for Patrick, the father who came home to it. Thank God for that, because quite usually these cases are very one-sided, and usually always for the woman. Over 15,000 donors, about 9 days for medical bills, 3 funerals, and those poor kids. And a lawyer. That fund asked nothing about anyone's opinion of Lindsay. Patrick himself asked the public to forgive her. He's 1,000% a better man than me in every way, shape, and form in that regard, if you consider that a morally good and correct thing. I'm going to tell you, normal people absolutely do not, and that's for a very good reason. You don't allow room for the demon to come back into, to get back into the gates. You ensure it never can. Again. Ever. That fund asked nothing about anyone's opinion of Lindsay either. And Patrick doing what he did, this is as clear cut as it could possibly be when it comes to good versus evil. So between 2023 versus 2026, Clancy, so in this case, the crowd has now paid out $1 million to the father who buried his children and $1 million to the parents of the woman who killed them. Same amount, 3 years apart. Keep that in mind, because it's very demonstrative. 26. In now Rochester, Minnesota, April 2025, a white mother named Shiloh Hendrix was filmed at a playground at Soldiers Field Park, repeatedly using the N-word at a young black boy. Yeah, the kid was trying to steal from her, and he was doing hood rat shenanigans all over the playground. No, that's not comparable at all. A word is nothing. Actions are everything. According to court filings, they declared the child autistic. According to this is just them. Yeah. Well, we all know what they're doing there. We all know it. According to the court filings, after he took an applesauce pouch from her bag, the man filming her, Sharmake Omar, posted it. It went everywhere. Also, Sharmake Omar ended up, let's just say, Sharmake Omar is exactly everything that you would assume his name would announce to you quite loudly and openly right off the bat. So yeah, take that with exactly the amount of salt you probably wouldn't even give to it. Within days, she opened, "Help me protect my family," saying her address and social security number had been leaked and she needed to relocate. It passed $700,000 in its first week. As of the day recording this, 15 months later, it sits at $948,000, like I said, against $1 million goal. Still open, still collecting. Just keep that in mind and remember it. That is a fact. Rochester The Rochester NAACP opened a GoFundMe for them on May 1st, 2025 with a $250,000 goal. And then the family asked for it to be closed. They didn't want more. The verdict. Hendrix was charged in August 2025 with misdemeanor disorderly conduct. She was punished for saying a word. Yeah, free speech is dead here. A $1,000 fine, a year of probation, 200 hours of community service, and 90 days in jail she'll never serve if she behaves. Quotation marks, behaves. Her fundraiser climbed after the verdict, not before. Put them side by side. Two women at the center of two of the most condemned viral cases of the decade. One killed her children. One screamed a slur at someone else's child. Both crowds answered with about $1 million. 30,000 donations each. Roughly $30 a head. The difference is speed. Lindsay's side got there in 10 days. Shiloh's took 15 months. That says a huge amount about our culture and society right now. In the majority. And on the other side of each ledger, the father who lost everything and the little boy who was called that word. The public gave once, and then those funds were closed. I'm not telling you what to make of that. I'm telling you the numbers, because I don't have to tell you what to make of it. You're going to know the truth, because nobody else in the coverage is putting them next to each other. You decide what they say about who they are. And I'm pretty sure we all have, as good, moral, normal human beings that are humane, pretty much all of us has the same conclusion on that. Here's X, this week with receipts. Thursday, as jury deliberation opened, the account posted, Lindsay Clancy supporters gathered outside the courthouse in pink as jury deliberations began today. She killed her three before trying to take her own life. The same account, same day, supporters have raised $1 million to support her and her family. Disgusting. Hundreds, psychotic. Mostly women in pink are rallying outside the Massachusetts courthouse to support an alleged murderer. Local and national news accounts ran it straight. Boston 25. A sea of Lindsay Clancy supporters dressed in pink gathered outside Plymouth Superior Court. There's so many, you cannot trace all the way to the bottom for them. Fox News posted her own lawyer's reaction to the crowd. Kevin Reddington called the turnout amazing and said of his client, she's so beat up and just so sad. Basically, he's feeding it. And the theory that the husband did it lives on X2. The Boston Globe quoted one user, last week I thought Lindsay Clancy killed her babies during postpartum psychosis. I now believe Patrick Clancy drugged Lindsay, pushed her out the window, and strangled his children with exercise bands so he could marry his new wife. Same user. I really don't pay close attention because it was so awful. But we have exculpatory evidence. Remember, the defense itself does not dispute that Lindsay killed the children at all. That theory reached celebrities. Real Housewives alum Lisa Rinna posted a video this week. Patrick did it, not Lindsay. Patrick did it. Basically doing the feminist leftist repeat the lie until everybody believes it and it becomes a truth thing. Taking advantage of those who are just not here. Reasoning that women typically don't strangle. As someone who lived through women who definitely did strangle, I'm going to call major BS on that one, period. Something she said she'd heard from her therapist. We all know what therapists are nowadays. They're validation AI that are a meat machine and nothing more. And X answered. One user, I've never seen so much brain rot. Aptly put. Another, is she getting dementia therapy? She literally went to strangle Kim Richards. Others called for Patrick Clancy to sue her. Honestly, I agree with him. The support side organizes under Justice for Lindsay Clancy or Stand with Lindsay. And this is the one to remember. I am Lindsay Clancy. That's all over all social media in the millions. On TikTok, a creator with 130,000 likes on one video put it this way: "This lady did not do this on her own. I'm willing to die on that hill." Well, seems like you already must have. That's the record. Those are their words, not mine. And the links are in the description. In fact, the description is going to be packed with everything. Don't believe me? Check it all out. Lindsay Clancy strangled her 3 children. Strangers have put $1 million behind her family in 10 days. And women line up in pink outside her courthouse to stand with her. I've never been so absolutely, completely ashamed that one of my favorite colors used to be pink. Then again, I was raised by women just like these ones. I guess it makes sense. Hendrix, by her own account, was getting a snack back out of her toddler's bag. She said an ugly word to another child. For that, she was doxxed, which is attempted murder. Her social security number leaked. She was driven out of her home, charged and convicted. This is persecution of the innocent, period. Her supporters also put up close to $1 million to help her move, and thank God she had any at all. One killed her children. One said a word. The one who said the word is the one with the criminal record. And the one who killed her children is the one with the cheering section. That's the contrast. I'll let you sit with it. The same women celebrating Lindsay are actively hunting her husband. Despite the defense not disputing that Lindsay killed her children, hundreds of thousands, seemingly millions, claim Patrick is responsible for killing them and trying to kill Lindsay. They say she's about to be jailed for life for something her husband did. TikTok users are arguing she's, quote, about to be jailed for life for something her husband did. Popular videos claim Patrick strangled the children and framed Lindsay, that he pushed her out the window, that he's a real monster. One viral post says, Patrick Clancy killed those kids and he's going to get away with it because he's a man. Remember the facts. Lindsay sent Patrick out on an errand before killing the children, then tried to kill herself when he returned, or had already tried to do so before he returned. The defense admits she did it. They're arguing she was insane at the time. But facts don't matter to a mob that has already decided men are always guilty and women are always victims. And this is where I need to speak from personal experience. I once was one of those little boys in a family in a very similar situation and position to Patrick Clancy and millions and millions of other men who have never spoken about or reported what has ever been done to them by any female. I was in a very, again, similar position to Patrick Clancy, except for one thing. I was literally one of the children. And it was my older adult Democrat feminist sisters who all took turns doing similar things to me, raping and torturing me between the ages of about 6 through 9 years old. They were fully grown adult women who knew what they were doing. When I was no longer so easy to physically overpower, they kept grooming me to just accept whatever they told me as truth. And for a decade I did. I was a male feminist. I was a leftist soldier. I was OG Antifa in the USA. The modern incarnation. I was Democrat. And unfortunately for me, or fortunately, I survived. So for me, and I am sure millions of other men, whose cases are never taken seriously, are laughed off and scoffed at, labeled all the worst things in existence. So we will shut up about the evil done to us at the hands of your average Western women and girls. This case hits different. It's personal. We are given no rights as men, as males, as boys, until we win them in court. And the courts are in majority feminists and leftists that hate us just because we exist. And they want us dead and our children butchered. And they enjoy it. Women judges who are always, purposefully, not serving justice at all, seemingly, only their evil ideology. This reflex to blame men reflects something deeper in our culture. This isn't happening in a vacuum. There's a broader pattern here that we need to examine. A pattern of excusing female violence while demonizing male existence. The celebration of a mother who killed her children cannot be separated from our culture's broader devaluation of children's lives. When we celebrate abortion as health care and empowerment, we create a society where children are seen as disposable rather than sacred. The same voices cheering for abortion on demand and at all ages are now cheering for Lindsay Clancy. They see no contradiction because, in their worldview, a woman's autonomy always trumps a child's life, whether that child is unborn or 5 years old and playing with toys in the basement. To understand why women are celebrating Lindsay Clancy, you must understand what feminism actually is. Not this sanitized version taught in schools, but the movement as it truly existed. Feminism emerged not as a movement for equality, but as a Marxist weapon designed to destroy the family unit and transfer dependency from husbands to the state. Its founders, from Margaret Sanger, who promoted eugenics and the extermination of undesirable populations, mostly targeted at black and people of color and, non-white demographics for whole and the most part, until the modern day also focused upon whites as well. And to the leaders of the 1960s radical movement, explicitly stated their goal was the abolition of marriage, the elimination of traditional gender roles, and the severing of women's natural bonds to children. They accomplished this through 3 devastating victories. No-fault divorce, which destroyed family stability and turned fathers into visitors at best. Abortion on demand, which transformed motherhood from a sacred duty into a disposable choice. And the systemic and systematic indoctrination of generations of women to view men as oppressors and children as burdens. Feminism never wanted equality. It wanted destruction. It wanted to create a society where women are liberated from responsibility, where they can abandon, neglect, or even kill their children without consequence, and where any woman who commits evil is automatically cast as the victim. Lindsay Clancy is not a deviation from feminism's goals. She's their fulfillment. This is what feminism was always designed to accomplish. Not equality, not liberation, but the complete destruction of the family and the normalization of female violence against the most innocent among us. Scripture tells us, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. But before you were born, I set you apart. God commands mothers to protect their children, not kill them. But feminism has convinced women that children are obstacles to freedom rather than blessings from God. When you believe that, celebrating Lindsay Clancy and openly declaring they are Lindsay Clancy's in the millions makes perfect sense. Now, Lindsay's defense claims she was suffering from postpartum psychosis, and she's pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. Her cell phone revealed searches for, "Can you treat a sociopath?" just days before the murders. She also searched for ways to kill her children and make it look like an accident. And she is not at all alone. Once you cut through all of the lies, propaganda, deceit, when it comes to the reporting on the data, statistics, and such, when it comes to Western women, when it comes to cases like this, what you will discover, if you have a soul, a heart, and actually are human, will completely shatter all preconceived notions about humanity's ability to be humane, much less the supposedly fairer sex. The prosecution notes that she methodically sent her husband away, chose a weapon that wouldn't make noise, and killed each child separately. I feel these parts whenever I hear the description because it's literally what happened to me, except I survived. By the grace of God, the will of the universe, I survived. And for the most part, I was even able to keep it from trickling down to the two younger ones. Because I literally feel it still, all these decades later. And that physical memory has never left me. This doesn't sound like psychosis. This sounds like planning. That sounds like premeditation. That sounds like a woman who wanted to be a victim instead of a murderer. The legal question is whether she was legally insane. But the cultural question is why so many women are celebrating her regardless of her mental state. That tells us something profound about where we are as a society. Let's be precise about postpartum. Okay, postpartum psychosis. The actual diagnosis Lindsay's lawyers are claiming is rare. 1 or 2 births in 1,000 tops. That's still somewhere between 4,000 and 7,000 American women a year. That's still too many. And the medical literature's own worst case figure for psychosis, left completely untreated, is about 4% and in child's death. Turn that around. 96 out of 100 women with the most severe postpartum illness there is, with no treatment at all, harm no one. Mixed into that, sure, is some what can or cannot be categorized as abuse or neglect or something like that, that is a very human flaw that's consistent across everyone, myself included. I'm not exception to that. I do fail sometimes. But, again, that's not murder, especially not deliberate murder. Millions of women have carried this. Millions have been medicated for it. Intrusive thoughts of harm coming to the baby are common, according to Fairbrother and Woody in 2008. Found about half of first-time mothers report a passing thought of intentional harm, and all of them report fears of accidental harm. What is vanishingly rare is acting on it. That's the actual deciding factor. So, I mean, Technically yes, technically no in the major part, but here's the thing that's the most important out of all of it. It is the deliberate decision and premeditation to plan, carry out, and execute such an act that is the actual defining factor of all of this period. And why the conclusion of this trial matters for the future of women's rights. As someone who has known some wonderful women in his time, they are provably too far and few in between. So, even though you can say all women, you must imply the exceptions which do exist. And that's what I apply as well. This reflects, to blame men, reflects a broader war on masculinity and fatherhood. Despite fathers today spending triple the time with children compared to fathers in the 60s, feminism continues to portray men as either oppressors or incompetent caregivers. In some cases, this is not wrong. It's not untrue. It's actually got some basis in fact. But unfortunately, the origin source of those issues come from the fact that those men, in the vast majority, were raised by single mothers who were much like Lindsay Clancy. So it's no wonder that there is now a greater amount of men that are in such a way because they were raised to be so. When we destroy the biblical model of complementary parenthood, where both mother and father have vital, distinct roles, we create the chaos that leads to tragedies, like the Clancy case. The Bible presents motherhood as a sacred calling, not a burden to be escaped. But modern feminism tells women that motherhood is oppression, that children are parasites, that family is a prison. Is it any wonder that some women, hearing this message constantly, might take that logic to its horrifying, inevitable, and only conclusion? I wouldn't think so either. The Lindsay Clancy case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. While mental health is clearly a factor, we must ask deeper questions about a society that increasingly sees children as burdens rather than blessings. And we must ask what it means when thousands, millions of your average, typical Western women rally to the defense of objective evil. From a biblical Christian perspective, the answer is clear. We must return to God's design for family, where mothers cherish their children as gifts from God, fathers lead with strength and love, and both parents recognize that children are not obstacles to be overcome, but treasures to be nurtured. Until we restore this biblical foundation, or whatever the equivalent can be for it, we'll continue to see more tragedies like the Clancy case, and more disturbingly, more women celebrating those tragedies as acts of feminist empowerment rather than what they are, profound violations of God's command to protect and nurture our children. Even remove and completely secularized. No good people slaughter their kids. And there is objective reality when it comes to good and evil. The women glorifying Lindsay Clancy online aren't just misguided. They're not stupid. They're not ignorant. They're not misled or anything of the sort anymore. These are functional adults who can vote. Their vote equals yours. And in some cases, well, most cases, it actually matters more than your own. So the fact of the matter is that these are those who in any other time would not be amongst us whatsoever. And in fact, the chances of them existing would have been much lower because everybody in a greater whole would have had much more of a support network. They would have had a huge family from which to gain help, resources, to take care of each other. Because when you have all those things, the people that have experienced that, in the whole and majority, are very good people because they were raised by good people. So these women are not, they're not mistaken. This is what they want, and they are professing it openly to be so. They're revealing what feminism actually believes. Nobody can be deceived anymore, and nobody can be given the grace of ignorance any longer. With the overabundance of the facts, the truth, and information at everyone's fingertips. And if that's what women's rights have become, then yes, the conclusion of this trial should determine whether those rights deserve to continue. However, what do you think? Is Lindsay Clancy a victim of postpartum psychosis, or is she a symbol of feminism's destructive influence on motherhood? And what does it say about our culture that so many women are cheering for, seemingly in a large majority? I want to hear from you in the comments down below. If this video opened your eyes to the dangers of modern feminism, please share with others who need to hear this message. Together, we can restore good values, even biblically good values, to our culture and protect our children from this warped ideology. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment, and hit that notification bell. I also have a personal crisis I'm dealing with, so I will ask for help. I am also a father who is fighting to be a father, and a father who is trying his damnedest to keep his son and stay in his life so I can raise a man that is a good addition to our country, and so that he too, in turn, can contribute to breaking this evil cycle that a lot of us men seem to be trapped in. So please, share if you cannot give to my link in the description down below. Again, if you cannot give, please share. And prayers, well wishes, vibes, and good luck is all greatly appreciated. God bless. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.